and Ole Miss pulled a stunner right there with Ohio State, Michigan, SEC rivals Alabama and Florida, Texas A&M and Notre Dame as well. Ole Miss joined the top 10, making the top 5 in college football. The Rebels.
Decided to attend University of Ole Miss.
Okay, so if you couldn't already tell by that intro video, our first interview has just a little bit to do with Ole Miss football. We chose to interview the coordinator of recruiting development, Lee Woolbanks. Here's a brief description from Woolbanks that describes what he does with his job title on a daily basis.
Defensive staff, so we'll break separately and watch it. So I pull guys I like, but I also pull guys I don't like. You know, because I'll pull guys that if they have an offer from a rival school, in-state school, SEC school, we're gonna watch it. 'Cause some of it's just CYA. You know, you got to cover yourself. So and so that's what it is. Like if a kid signs with I don't know, Arkansas. Coach will want to know, hey, did we evaluate this guy? What do we think of him? And if we hadn't watched him, it falls on me. What we do, we didn't like, and as we go through it, we keep it documented, and we'll say, hey, we watched him. This is the date we watched him. This is what we said about him. So we just cover ourselves about the kid. So this coach goes down through the whole list of every team in the SEC and who they signed with, and did we watch it?
This is the quote I remember from Lee Woolbanks the most.
Work for a good guy to work for. You want to make sure you're doing everything you can. So there's times I'll stay up here till 10 at night. I don't have to be, but I want to make sure I'm doing everything I can for us to be successful. So there's not that he ain't pressuring me to do it. I just want to make sure that I'm doing my part and to help us put a championship team out there on the field.
From Lee Woolbanks, what I took away the most was just to do everything you can do that day to make the most of it. He said that he doesn't have to stay late hours, but because he has respect for Hugh Freeze and loves his job, that he's really committed and wants to do the best work that he can do. So he puts in those extra hours.
Here's what Woolbanks said that was the most significant to me.
I really even considered this until Coach Freeze called me, and he had actually offered me a job here a year before I actually took it. And I was at another school coaching, and it was like 2 weeks before we started fall camp, and I just told him it wasn't the right thing to do for the coaches and the players, and he understood and said, hey, there'll be something else. So.
After listening to Woolbanks and hear what he said, I thought that was so admirable that he had that job to begin with and he turned it down. I think that just kind of shows us as college graduates, or soon to be graduates, that we don't know our life plan. We don't know what we're supposed to do, and that's okay. I mean, there might be opportunities that we can take or that we don't take, but in the end, as long as you're ambitious and as long as you follow your heart and you pursue a career that you really love, everything will work out. And I thought Woolbanks was a prime example of that, and I really, really enjoyed hearing what he had to say.
What stood out for me from Mr. Woolbanks' interview is when he was talking about not looking at the money and doing what you love to do.
That you can get paid doing what you love to do. And it doesn't matter if you start out getting paid in the $20,000, because everybody wants to look at the money. Well, if you really love what you're doing, it's not work to you anymore. You know, it's coming in and doing something you love to do. So to me, I still love evaluating guys.
And this is important because you're going to be doing this job every day, so you might as well do what you love, because if you don't like it, then you're going to be miserable every day for the majority of your life.
I can relate to this because currently I am working at a job that has nothing to do with my major, and I absolutely love it. Eventually I will switch over and do something in my major, but right now it's not my first priority because I'm doing sales and I absolutely love it. So most of all, it's important to do what you love and enjoy doing it.
At the beginning of Lee's interview, I just thought it was going to be the typical, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be a football coach. I knew I always wanted to do football kind of thing. But then after he went through and explained how he got to where he was now at a big Division I school, it made me realize that, starting from a grad assistant coach to being the main person that does recruiting could, the path that you think when you're 22 might change by the time your career ends.
We all want to wish you guys a happy recruitment week to all the fraternity and sorority houses at Ole Miss and the potential new members going through recruitment next week. Go Green!
Our next interview, if you couldn't tell by those videos, has something to do with Ole Miss recruitment. Here's dietetics and nutrition major and Panhellenic president Ellen Mitchell to tell you a little bit more about herself and her job description.
So what I do is I correspond between all 10 of the chapters we have on campus and the dean of students and the executive councils on campus, as well as the NPHC fraternities and sororities and the fraternities that we have on campus. So I kind of do a little maintenance. I meet with delegates every week to make sure that all the chapters are on the same page about everything.
And this is the quote I remember from Ellen Mitchell the most.
Well, definitely advisors in my chapter. They helped me find a love for Panhellenic, as well as previous Panhellenic council officers, so my peers. They really encouraged me. They did it the year before, and they helped talk to me about what it was and what I could do, and it was really encouraging, so that's why I wanted to do it.
Even though I wasn't on Panhellenic like Ellen, I think what really stood out to me was just taking direction from people above you and that have been there before, because I think a lot of times we believe we know what's best for ourselves, but really taking advice from other people can help a lot when you're looking at which direction to go.
What stood out for me from Ellen's interview is the importance of making relationships with people, especially people higher above you, and listening and learning from them.
I definitely advise everyone to talk to teachers, parents, peers, people who have been there, and also people who are trying to go in the same direction as you, because talking to people around you and figuring out people's mistakes or how they excelled is the only way you can get places, because you have to learn from everyone who is around you.
And this is important because teachers are not only like teaching us like what's going on in the classroom, but also important life skills. And this is important to like listen and take that advice they're giving us and using it in the real world.
I learned from a personal experience this past week that is very true. After my business management class, I went up to my professor to see if I could see how my grades. She said absolutely. As we were walking to her office, she asked what my major was. I told her hospitality management, and she said her husband is the CEO of a company here in Oxford that has to do with hospitality. I don't want to say it yet because I don't want to jinx myself, but it made me super excited that I could have the potential to work there this summer and next fall. So on Tuesday after class, she told me to come up to her and get the application. My point is, if I did not go ask her how my grades were, she would never have asked what my major was, or we would have had this connection. So always stay in touch with your professors because it can happen for the best.
After interviewing Ellen, one thing that really stuck out to me was when she told us that before she even had this position, she had a fear of public speaking. Here's what she said.
Definitely. Before I got this position, I was kind of timid in front of crowds, and now I feel very confident speaking in front of a crowd of 200 people. It's gotten to be where I found my voice, and I figured out how to organize myself in a way in which I can talk in front of people. And so I think it's really been beneficial because that'll help me be able to relate to college students or whoever I work with in my later career. So.
After we were finished interviewing her, I could not believe that she admitted that. I mean, she had such poise and such character when she was on camera talking to us. I mean, she handled everything so gracefully. And that was really a lesson to me, because going into something, you might not know your boundaries. You might have to get out of your comfort zone. And Ellen proved that that's okay. I mean, she used to be scared of talking in front of small groups, and now she has to give speeches in front of hundreds of people. So, I mean, I think that it's really comforting to know that just because we might not like what we're doing right now, or what we could have to do in the future, like, we could have potential for it. It could be in our job description, and we might be great at it.
My passion is community. So I love a community, and I love to bring the community feeling to sororities on campus here. So we've really been working a lot with fraternities and MPHC organizations to bring that community to Ole Miss, because I think that's an important part that's sometimes missing here. So that's really what I'll work for this year.
Okay. The fact that Ellen was involved in so much community stuff through Panhellenic, and it made me realize that not only is community like a good thing to give back to all the time, but also in your work life, it's a good thing to, you know, go to other organizations and meet people, and that might lead to networking opportunities that can, you know, change your career path and, you know, whatever you want to do.
Overall, I learned that it's important to make connections, because you never know how these connections will benefit you in the future.
Kind of like Bethany just said, one of the biggest things that I took away as well is just making connections. Lee Wilbanks made a connection with Hugh Freeze when he was younger working at Ole Miss, and that led him to the career where he is right now. Ellen Mitchell made connections with some of her advisors and some of her peers, and that got her to where she is now. And even beyond that, one thing that I really was inspired by with this project was these two different individuals. I mean, you have someone like Lee Wilbanks, who has been driven his whole life. He got to where he is now by working hard, and he's happy. He's in his career and he's established. But then you have someone like Ellen, who's just like us. She's filled with so much passion about what she wants to do and what she is doing. And she's in the same position we are. She's about to go out and she's about to conquer the world, and that's exactly like us. And I think it's really important to not lose track of that. Like, just because we're not where we want to be in 10 years doesn't mean we can't be proud of where we are now. Doesn't mean we can't have passions like Ellen, but also have ambition like Lee Wilbanks. So I know our group really enjoyed this project, and I hope y'all listened a little bit to us and enjoyed what we had to say too. Thanks.